coronavirus pandemic rages on, many people are choosing to postpone their vacations to faraway places and instead are staying closer to home. These staycations offer the best of both worlds. You get the relaxation of a vacation, but you get the comfort, ease, and safety of staying local. And I thought to myself, well, why not do the same thing with books? So I've got 6 books set in my home state of New Hampshire. Let's check it out. Hi there. I'm Michelle with the Goffstown Public Library, where I'm an adult services librarian. Welcome to our library. Whether you've been visiting for years or this is your first time stopping by, we are so happy to have you. And what a happy time for you to be visiting at the wrap-up of our 2nd week of the Imagine Your Story Summer Experience. The Summer Experience is a yearly, summer-long program that celebrates reading, learning, and play in all ages, with fabulous prizes. In other words, you could earn tickets towards our raffle for doing things like logging your reading, and for attending virtual events like this one. You don't have to have a Goffstown Public Library card to participate in the adult program. Just head on over to goffstownlibrary.com/summer 2020. And if you sign up right now, you'll be all ready to participate by logging in the secret code from today's event, revealed sometime soon. On this episode of Book Talk with Michelle, I thought I'd give my reading list a little staycation makeover. Even though books can take you anywhere, there's so much to explore right in our backyards. And for me, that means exploring my home state of New Hampshire. I've got literary fiction, horror, thriller, romance, and some nonfiction recommendations for you. A little something for everyone. I'll start with the most summary of the books I've assembled today. Lake News by Barbara Delinsky is a character-driven novel featuring protagonist Lily Blake, a talented singer who's been forced back to her hometown in New Hampshire after false accusations of a sensational affair bomb her career. Throughout the novel, Lily forms an uneasy relationship with disgraced journalist John Kipling, and the two struggle to create a new sense of community in the place they once called home. Small-town living is definitely on display in this gentle romance. The natural beauty of New Hampshire's lake region enhances the story, and the small town's secrets and dark past give depth to the characters. Delinsky may not be a hot name anymore, but in her heyday she was just as popular as Kristen Hanna and Elin Hildebrand are now. Delinsky's also comparable to Danielle Steele. So, if Steele, Hanna, and Hildebrand have been clogging up your reading list, I suggest you give Delinsky a try. And I also recommend that you start with her most popular and critically well-received novel, Lake News. From the Lakes region, let's just jaunt on up to the White Mountains. People have been visiting the White Mountains as tourists for decades. For example, the Auto Road up Mount Washington was constructed in 1861 for intrepid travelers to brave. Around that time, Nathaniel Hawthorne of the Scarlet Letter fame published a collection of short stories set in New Hampshire's White Mountains. That collection, The Great Stone Face, is named after the Old Man of the Mountain. The Old Man is an outcropping of rock that, before its destruction in 2003, was perhaps New Hampshire's most memorable attraction. If you've never seen it for yourself, the Great Stone Face short story collection does include photographs. In the titular tale of the Great Stone Face, Hawthorne recounts a myth that one day a man with similar features to the rock will return to the area and he will be the most noble man of the ages. If you only know Hawthorne from the Scarlet Letter, put your assumptions behind you, because these are actually compulsively readable. The short tales are at turns lighthearted and cautionary. They harken back to an idealized New Hampshire of old, and the best part, it's a short read. At only 69 pages, I'm sure you could read this book on the car ride from Manchester to Franconia Notch to see the old man's perch for yourself. I recommend this short story collection to any New Englanders longing for yesteryear, and for readers who prefer the classics. After all, they just don't write them like this anymore. I fondly remember my childhood vacations to the White Mountains. Perhaps too young to enjoy the natural beauty of New Hampshire, I was looking forward to visiting Storyland. Oh my gosh, I'm having such a hard time not singing the tagline. Where fantasy lives. Okay, let's get back to business. Storyland is a children's amusement park inspired by storybooks and nursery rhymes. It's where you can take a horse-drawn carriage ride up to Cinderella's castle, meet the old woman who lives in the shoe in her 10-foot tall boot, or pet the 3 little pigs. Since its founding in 1954, Storyland has been a destination for generations of families. Here's a picture of my mother going when she was a kid, and then me at the same park a generation later. Plus, since I was going 20 years ago, the park has expanded even more. But, why am I giving you this unsolicited ad for Storyland? Well, besides being so close to my heart, Storyland has become an iconic White Mountain destination. Whether you grew up visiting the park or not, you can still enjoy the magic by reading the Storyland installment of the Images of America series. Each page contains snapshots of a bygone era, and the captions provide surprising anecdotes. Plus, amusement park buffs will love the old photos of different rides and attractions. Plus, who knows? If you grew up visiting the park, you might see yourself in the background of some of these photos. Images of America has many installments, most of them written by locals. For example, the Storyland installment is written by Jim Miller, the general manager of the park for years. So if you're not as interested in Storyland as this fangirl is, you can look for installments on Santa's Village, Clark's Trading Post, Benson's Wild Animal Farms, New Hampshire Covered Bridges, and more. In fact, Arcadia Publishing has a whole website where you can search by state and subject to find the Images of America book that tickles your nostalgia bone. If you're wishing for amusement parks but nonfiction isn't your thing, let me suggest All the Pretty Things by Emily Arsenault. All the Pretty Things is a young adult thriller set in the fictional New Hampshire amusement park of Fabuland. Right in the beginning, we have a dead boy and a girl mysteriously committed to a psych ward. Friend of them both, Ivy, is committed to discovering what really happened that night at Fabuland. This book explores the messy bonds between friendship and family, and even though the mystery is run-of-the-mill at best, the setting will keep you turning pages. It's interesting how Arsenault uses the decaying amusement park to amplify the foul atmosphere hanging over all the characters. I'd definitely say this story runs on the ambiance from its unusual setting. Definitely check it out, but be warned, there are incidents of sexual violence and death. For those readers who are looking for even more grit in their summer reading, I would recommend Horns by Joe Hill. Any viewer who's been with me for a couple episodes now knows how much I love Joe Hill's writing. He lives in New Hampshire and often peppers his prose with real locations and landmarks. It makes the horror all the more real for characters to be driving down roads that I also drive down. In Horns, Ig Parrish wakes up from a night of binge drinking to discover that he has horns on his head. He was trying to forget about the brutal murder of his childhood sweetheart and the accusations that fell on him, but instead, he's got these horns to worry about. Luckily, the horns give Ig the power to discover any person's darkest secrets, and naturally, he's going to be using that power for vengeance. The true horror of this book comes from what humans can do to each other. If you can stomach the sexual violence, gore, and cruelty, there is very little paranormal activity that'll keep you up at night. I mean, other than the horns. But that's what makes this book the perfect Joe Hill title to start with if you usually don't read horror. What I love most about this book is how it blurs the lines of good and evil. Even though New Hampshire isn't a big part of the story, the setting is realistic and intriguing. It's another example of small town living, although this time Ig actually does know everything about everyone. I'd say this chilling revenge caper is definitely great for the height of summer, but I know it's not for everyone. My last book is about as far away from the heart-pounding, adrenaline-pumping thrillers I just mentioned. Summer Hours at the Robbers Library by Sue Halpern is a heartwarming mashup of two popular themes, sad small towns and unlikely friendship. Head librarian Kit is hiding from the world in the small town of Riverton, New Hampshire. Once an industrial hotspot, Riverton is on its last sputtering breath, and Kit likes it that way. She mostly keeps to herself until Sunny, a young thief, is assigned community service at the library. Sunny is gregarious, and true to her name, she brings light to the sad little library. Her spunk draws people close to her, and by extension, to Kit. When Rusty, a Wall Street banker who's lost everything, blows into town, you can be sure all these characters get their backstories tangled up. In fact, you could even say this turns into a romance, which is why today's secret code is Romance23. Log into goffstownlibrary.com/summer2020 and earn tickets towards our grand prize raffle. Don't forget, it's case sensitive. So despite the multiple characters and summer hours at the Robbers Library, each gets their moment in the sun. Between the character studies, we see undue suffering, but also a celebration of small community living. This book is great for book clubs because there's just so much to talk about. You'll bond with the quirky cast of characters and be rooting for them right up to the end. This is a great summer read for fans of Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman and The Story of Arthur Truelove by Elizabeth Berg. You'll definitely want to pick up this one for some feel-good smiles. And there you have it, 6 books set in New Hampshire. I know these books will help me take a reading staycation. And if you live in New Hampshire just like me, you could read the books and then Visit the locales during your adventures. What's your favorite book set in your home state? What are your vacation plans? Let me know in the comments. As always, any book I mentioned today is listed below in the description, as well as information of how to get started with Goffstown Public Library's downloadable resources. You can download ebooks, audiobooks, and more free with your library card. You'll also find in the description the link to the summer experience. Visit goffstownlibrary.com/summer 2020 and log the secret code you heard today. While you're there, you can log reading and check out the various challenges we've set up for you. And just a reminder, you don't have to have a library card to participate in the adult program. Like and share if you got something out of this video, and don't forget to subscribe. This channel has got book talks for all ages, story times, how-tos, crafts, and more. I'll see you back here next week for another episode of Book Talk with Michelle. In the meantime, whip out your phone and connect to the Goffstown Public Library on social media, or visit goffstownlibrary.com to see what's in the catalog yourself. Again, I'm Michelle with the Goffstown Public Library, and I'll check you out later. Bye!